guy is one of the deadliest warriors in the kingdom, and he's now working as a guard for a child with a terminal illness who doesn't even have mana in his body. When the child tried to force his way out of the room, the warrior had to unleash his killing aura, the same one that made his worst enemies shake in fear. But the child just walked right through it like it was nothing. But how was that even possible? How could the most respected warrior in the mansion fail to stop a child? That child is Kyle Seltarian, and he was born destined to die. In this world, mana is like water, and everyone needs it just to stay alive. Kyle was starving for mana, and because of that, he would die before turning 20. But what nobody mentioned is that this child was the reincarnation of the top 1 player who spent 10 years in the game, someone who knows every single secret of this world, including Kyle's fate. He knows he won't die from his illness, but from the monsters of the rebellion in his own territory, a rebellion that his own brother Adolf will start. Kyle belongs to one of the most respected swordsman families in the kingdom, but he had absolutely zero talent for it. Even with the player knowing everything about the story, he had no idea what to do to change it, so he starts losing it, taking out all his anger on the maids, until his father had no choice but to lock him in his room. Knowing his family is going to be destroyed, with no talent for swords or magic, no real chance of survival, and still locked in his room, yeah, the universe really made it personal this time. With his fate already sealed, a light appears behind him with several glowing magic orbs floating around. He's confused because he never saw anything like this in the game before. Not knowing what to do, he reaches out and touches one of the orbs, which triggers a bunch of system notifications and pulls up his game profile. He discovers talents he never even knew existed. Since he spent years inside that game, he gained knowledge, secrets, and even knows about the catastrophes that are coming. He has everything it takes to become the most powerful mage in history. He starts training, shaping mana into sharp energy blasts and firing them straight at the wall. Little by little, the energy flows through his blocked channels, managing to wipe out the illness that was supposed to kill him at 20, and now he's finally free. Meanwhile, in the palace kitchen, a girl named Erziel tries to deliver a meal to the young master. The other maids refuse to serve Kyle as a way of protesting his behavior. When Erziel decides to do her job anyway, one of her coworkers knocks the plate out of her hands and hits her. The scene is interrupted by the arrival of Leon, a respected noble in the mansion, who orders the meal to be remade and delivered. Meanwhile, Kyle was in his room thinking about how to change the fate of the Marquis family with these 2 new talents, when Erziel finally arrives at Kyle's room with the food still warm. Kyle uses his insight ability and discovers that she has multiple talents. He gets even more impressed when he finds out that she has a top-tier talent. A memory from 1 year ago unlocks itself. He finds out that Erziel was bought by Kyle for $2 at an auction. In the end, he freed her from slavery, giving her her freedom. The girl, touched by the freedom she was given, promised to follow him wherever he went. Now Kyle realizes just how valuable she is. In the original game, Erziel never existed as a character because she was already dead in the rebellion before meeting any players. He decides to change that, telling her he's going to teach her how to use her talent. Erziel is thrilled to hear this, and it made her affection for him grow even more. Days later, Kyle was allowed to leave his room to absorb all the mana particles from outside. Leon wants to be punished for using killing intent against Kyle, but Kyle forgives him and says there's no need for that. Leon went to tell his master, and the 2 of them ended up arguing, trying to figure out how this boy became strong enough to resist an experienced warrior. Leon went to talk to Kyle, but he was still meditating, looking like a Buddha. So he went and told Kyle's father that he had already been meditating for 6 hours. The old man started remembering the days they used to train, when Kyle couldn't even last 10 minutes before giving up. And now he's been meditating for 6 hours straight. Something is definitely different about this boy. The next day, Kyle wakes up with mana pouring out of his body. Trying to spread that mana throughout his entire body, he starts pushing it forward, breaking through every barrier until it finally reaches his heart. And just like that, he becomes capable of using magic. In this world, to be able to use magic, you need to form a magic circle inside your heart. With the goal of learning how to use magic, he heads to his family's library. The woman in charge of the place is completely shocked because she has never seen him there before. She starts asking what happened, but Kyle was already tearing through every shelf, ripping books open one by one, looking for something about how to form a magic circle. After spending some time wrecking the library, when he finally finds an introductory book on magic, reading it, he realizes the language is completely different from anything he knows. A system notification pops up informing him that his spirit vision ability has been activated. With this ability, he managed to translate the book into a language he can actually understand. With the translation complete, he finally gets to learn magic. Because of that, there's no need to stay there any longer than necessary. In seconds, the boy tears through the books and asks for even more beginner titles. Being clever, he decides to rent them all and take them to his room in the palace. This is the last batch of requests, and it fills the whole room with papers. It's so weird that the blonde guy asks if everything's okay, because he's never seen the kid read before. The redhead gets really worried. It was way too many requests at once, and she's scared something tragic is about to happen. After all, the boy used to hate reading, and suddenly he's showing an interest she's never seen. When he sees the boy studying basic magic principles, the warrior remembers his mana illness. The boy, being sharp, guesses what the man's about to say, and comments that magic is hard to learn. But he's right, and everyone in that house must think what the kid's doing now is super bizarre. Since he's the family's infamous kid, it wouldn't surprise anyone if he acted weird once in a while. But he remembers what he said before. He doesn't want to die young, and he has to try things. He has to try everything. Motivated, he says he'll do whatever he can to solve this cursed condition. So his plan is to lie down for a bit and read as much as he can while he rests. The young lord the warrior remembers is completely different now. He remembers a time when the boy was crying after fencing class. He said his father told him he didn't need someone weak like him. Back then, he was just a weak, whiny kid who couldn't handle any problems. Suddenly, the MC notices his friend got a new status, favorite. Apparently they're getting a lot closer now, and the guard stays outside so he won't get in the way. Things are changing between them, and maybe it's because he started studying. Maybe devouring a ton of books at once counts as persistence in this world. Now that the guard is gone, the boy is finally alone with his mountain of books. Now he can actually start reading for real using his insight magic. Like magic, all the books start getting decoded at the same time, insanely fast. The speed of his skill is crazy. It's 12 times faster than reading normally. On top of that, the hard parts are being saved into their own separate folder. Over time, the principles of forming circles get digitized and stored in the database. His understanding grows as the books get decoded little by little. Now, using the decoded data, his plan is to create a magic circle. With the basics down, he finally meets the minimum requirements to form one. Guiding his mana along that golden path, he manages to create what he wants. Focusing as hard as he can, he uses all his blue power to move the magic in his chest. The process is painful and brutal, like his heart is about to burn. Even so, he has to hold on until the end. Otherwise, the mana will surge back into his body in a horrible way and damage his organs. The magic starts getting out of control, blasting books all over the room while he hangs on just a little longer. After a ton of effort, he finally manages to form his first mana circle, weakening the blocked mana channels. Now his mana isn't stuck inside his body anymore. It's flowing out, stronger than ever. He's thrilled he hit his goal and can use magic however he wants. Then he realizes it's already morning, and he spent the entire night doing this without even noticing. He barely has time to think his friend is going to be mad about it before he passes out. The next morning, the girl brings the boy his breakfast and finds him unconscious on the floor. She's totally shocked and tries to wake him up, while also trying to make sense of the mess with all the books. In just one night, the MC used up all the mana he'd been building up for days to form that circle. And from now on, a brand new in his life as a mage has finally begun. Chapter 7. In the kitchen, the maid is happily cooking up a delicious meal. She did it because last time she got praised for it, and it made her master happy. This time, the other girls want to be the ones to deliver the dish to the Lord. Then they suddenly change their tune and say the boy is their responsibility, and that they need to go back to the original agreement now that the master's personality is way better. The girl says if there are any complaints about the work, they can take it up with the MC. Ignoring all of them, she walks off, leaving them with nothing to say. Before she leaves, the jealous one snaps back, basically saying she's nobody important. Back in bed, the boy enjoys his meal of seasoned meats. The recipe's been tweaked since last time to make it even tastier day by day. Since he's been training hard every day, he's also learned some other recipes from the head chef. On top of that, the boy wants to know how things are going with spirit magic. To start, he needs the intro book for that style of magic. And the girl is really smart. She's already read half the material without any magical help. From what he's read so far, it looks like she comes from a hard-working family and learns steadily over time. For her age, she's pretty talented, but it's still not enough. Closing the book, he says he doesn't have time yet, and that he needs to get stronger to learn more. In 2 months, the family will hold the succession ceremony, and something is going to happen that day. A coup led by the second son, Adolf, will bring down the Marquise's family. If they don't want to die in the rebellion, everyone needs to get stronger, especially her. From now on, he orders that someone else handle the kitchen work while she focuses more on studying. But she says she'll work hard at both because she doesn't want anyone taking care of and serving her master except her. Crying a lot, she begs to be allowed to keep doing it instead of leaving it to the others. That surprises the young man, and he understands where she's coming from. Her family fell apart and she went from noble to slave overnight. She even lost contact with family on other continents, not knowing if they were alive or dead. Her life is finally starting to feel stable again, and she got thrown off when she found out she had to study spirit magic. She probably thinks that if she doesn't do her job well, she'll get kicked out of the mansion. But he reassures her again, saying she's the person he trusts to be in charge. He says he doesn't abandon anyone, and he always protects the people who are his. And he promises he didn't tell her to study this stuff without a really important reason. Her skills are so good and so careful that if she keeps working hard, she'll be promoted to head maid. But there are plenty of workers in the mansion who could replace her at any time. So he asks if she's curious about what'll happen if she trains in this art. Mages with that kind of ability are extremely respected and super rare anywhere in the world. If she studies, she'll become an amazing mage, and everyone will respect her. And until then, there won't be any NPC who can replace her in that field. It sounds incredible, and even she isn't sure she can do it. Handing her the books she needs, the man says she'll become the greatest of all time. She accepts the gift with a hug, believes in her lord, and decides to give it everything she's got. Now their relationship has gone up even more, to 60. After that, the girl is appointed as the master's personal maid so they can study together. While taking care of the boy's personal needs, she's moved into a private room. From now on, that'll be her new space, where she can study and train in peace. It's way better for security, and she doesn't have to worry about the other jealous girls. She loves it because now she's a lot closer to her lord's room. Together, the two of them decide to work hard and survive, no matter what happens. While she was studying in her room, she'd watch the boy strolling around the garden. Every time the two of them met, they grew fonder of each other, and their relationship got better. Later on, the warrior has to hear some urgent news. Turns out it's about the great Lord Adolf, who found out his younger brother has changed. He's gotten way stronger lately and has been training every single day. On top of focusing on magical studies, his personality has improved a lot too, and he's not annoying anymore. Realizing his brother has finally matured, he figures he should drop by for a little visit as the older brother. Chapter 8. The boy's morning walks always include a moment to see his friend. This time he's planning to go somewhere out of sight. He says it's all to carry out a magic experiment. They head to a spot outside the kingdom's territory, hidden by thick trees. While he trains, his friend has to make sure nobody comes close, so their secret doesn't get out. The blonde guy looks worried, because his friend shouldn't be training with that illness. But the current Lord Kyle is totally different and can actually control energy. He fires a powerful magic missile at a tree in front of him. The explosion is so huge that both of them are shocked by the power and talent. The attack even destroys the tree, making it clear the test worked. The sound was so loud it might have been heard from the mansion, but the aura muffled the noise. The blonde guy's quick reflexes came at the perfect time to protect their secret. Kyle says he formed his first magic circle a few days earlier by following the instructions in the book he borrowed. And with that, using aura, he managed to overcome the illness that used to mess with him every day. Showing off the magic with a smile, he says he doesn't plan on dying young. Finally, the man understands what felt different about his friend these past few days. He congratulates his little brother for healing himself with his own brains. Their relationship improves, like you'd expect from someone who respects perseverance. But that magic missile is still first circle, and it shouldn't be anywhere near as strong as a big brute's punch. What's weird is the power feels more like a 4th level circle. It's crazy that he unlocked a 4th rank ability even though he's a beginner mage. Maybe the boy's a prodigy who just never got noticed before. Thanks to his skill, he managed to read all the books in the library and saved himself months of studying to form the first circle. While studying, one question came up. Why is magic different from the original game? Here, he has to draw a ritual first, then deal with tough equations to activate the spell. In the game, magic was way simpler. You just made a symbol and the mana kicked in. But his magic isn't user-friendly at all, and it's way too strong. That's a big problem, because now isn't the time to reveal who he really is. So he asks his friend to keep it a secret between the two of them. But the way the boy goes about it makes their relationship worse, because the man doesn't like that kind of thing. The reason is he doesn't want people to know how strong he is, and he remembers the rebellion is happening in 2 months. That freaks the blonde guy out when he remembers the succession ceremony. Traditionally, the family chooses the successor based on competence. They also look at personality, sword talent, and other factors. Based on that, everyone gets judged, and then it's time to pick the most promising heir. Right now, there are 2 main contenders with the most buzz around them. One is the eldest son, the great Abel, and the second son, the cruel and calculating Adolf. The oldest is the Marquise's legitimate son and the most famous candidate. He's kind by nature and has excellent sword skills, trained since childhood. Adolf, on the other hand, is also legitimate, but he was completely overlooked because his brother was more talented. At some point while growing up, though, his abilities shot up, and he gained a bunch of supporters. Honestly, he gives off major gang leader vibes. When they see each other, they immediately start throwing subtle jabs, like they're pretending the other one isn't even there. The Golden Knight says he was so lost in thought he didn't even notice them coming, but that excuse is hard to buy, since he's had a strong aura since he was 5. That's just a small childhood story and not really worth repeating. Meanwhile, the middle brother only awakened his aura at 15, pretty late. In this world, it's normal for some people to be late bloomers and start magical training much later. All of a sudden, a fight breaks out among the cruel guy's followers. It really ticks him off because he knows he can't disrespect the rules of his father's household. In a friendly way, Abel says his brother's subordinates are well-trained and worthy of serving a potential heir. The tension between the two only grows, because the middle brother says they can laugh all they want because they won't be laughing for much longer. When he leaves, that last line sounds pretty suspicious and starts to feel unsettling. While eating, the MC worries about the ceremony coming up in 2 months. This territory doesn't follow the whole firstborn inherits everything rule. It chooses its heirs. And the most important criteria to be chosen are strength and ranking. There's only one exception, the young master. Because of his illness, he was taken out of the succession from the start. Besides him, his third older brother, the Duke, also can't get involved in these schemes. So right now, it basically comes down to the older brothers, Abel and Adolf. There isn't much time left until the ceremony, and they won't be able to make any huge moves before then. And there's no telling what could happen if the MC's powers get discovered. In the future, there are only 2 possible reactions. Either they try to turn him into an ally, or they try to crush him as soon as possible. It's extreme, but throughout history there have been bloodbaths during succession struggles. According to the game's lore, the middle brother would definitely try to get rid of the hero, and from the beginning, he was planning to wipe out the whole family so he could rule. So the MC's current goal is to overcome his illness and try to build alliances with good people. In front of him, Leon understands that mages need to hide their abilities to protect themselves. But after this incident, he'll definitely report the MC's abilities to the head of the family. Right now, the warrior swears loyalty to the Marquis instead of the young master, but the hero plans to do something for his friend. That makes the blonde guy worried, not sure if the MC is really taking this whole being a mage thing seriously. And he knows his father would be super proud if he found out his youngest son is getting stronger. Thanks to this conversation, their relationship improves a lot. And the MC finds out that eating together boosts relationships between characters, so he plans for them to eat together every day from now on. Night falls, and the kid keeps studying his rituals non-stop. If he activates them using magic, he can gain power. Fast. Like, insanely fast. But he doesn't understand why the game's method is making him stronger like this. At some point, he'll definitely have to show his powers to other people. Mana activation in this world is slow and hard to master. But to control his power more precisely, he starts thinking up a few methods. Using certain advantages and strategies, he can combine the two and gain a lot of power. The problem is, it's really dangerous, and a magical explosion could happen right there. Still, he can keep going and try because he knows it's not totally impossible. The risk is definitely high, but so is the reward, and he's not going to get anywhere in life if he never puts himself in danger once in a while. Suddenly, his mana starts pouring out of his body, spiking like crazy in the room. Things get pretty dangerous, and he gets a bunch of explosion warnings. Even so, he sticks to the plan and starts analyzing and activating the sequences, managing to combine the pathways to deal serious damage. Inside his room, he creates a brand new kind of magic, something totally new and really powerful. This time, he manages to combine the activation and create a magic missile. Now that the foundation of the process is ready, he wants to try to get even more power. But then the danger becomes real, and the explosions draw attention. At that moment, a maid passes by, worried and wanting to check if her master is okay. Luckily, the boy is fine, but the room now has a hole in the wall. A smarter plan would definitely be doing this kind of experiment outside the house. Maybe that's why the notifications keep popping up, and he needs to set up a workshop to train. Just then, the warrior shows up, startled by the noise. In the kitchen, the soup tastes kind of off. No salt. Bland. Boring. Suddenly, another maid notices the soup is being made by the hard-working girl. It's Daisy, one of her friends, and a really kind person. But the girl is scared to get close, because her last interactions with the maids went badly. Daisy is different from the others and gives her tips on how to season the food better. She talks about an ingredient that gives it a rich, delicious flavor. When she tastes the seasoned food, the girl is surprised by how good it turns out. Seeing that Daisy is chill, she asks Daisy to teach her some cooking techniques. Luckily, her friend is happy to have that little learning moment together. The two of them go together to deliver the food, and they end up talking about the Lord. On the way, Daisy admits she got worried when she heard he wanted a maid just for himself. Luckily, the MC has been acting way more honorable lately and isn't a bad person. While he's studying, he finds out Daisy asked about how he was doing. Like they agreed, Eziel doesn't say anything about his friend's current condition. Daisy gets praised for doing a good job and for making the right call. He thought the impatient ones would have already made a move, but the rope is longer than it looks. Being impatient is exactly what you'd expect from the middle brother. It's obvious he's rushing things so he can pull off his evil plans. In his office, the Marquis completely loses it when he finds out his son got over the illness. There's Leon, reporting that the boy has been studying magic. He even managed to reach the first circle, even without any talent. That leaves the head of the family stunned, not believing how this miracle happened. After all, he remembers the MC being in terrible health and basically living depressed. Because of that, the two of them fought a lot and argued like they were enemies. In a really awful moment, the boy hears his own father say he never wanted a son like that, someone who only caused trouble. You can tell the man clearly regrets saying stuff like that in the heat of the moment. To overcome that illness, you'd need some crazy abnormal talent for magic. And that kind of thing only shows up when you're 5 years old. Maybe this is the only known case of someone managing it at 13. And there's no doubt Kyle got past his issues, since he can even manipulate magic. That's definitely an incredible miracle. And the kid probably still holds a grudge against his father. But the warrior says there's no grudge. Actually, it's the opposite. The boy even said he wanted to talk to the head of the family in person, because he's basically stuck inside the house and wants the Marquis's permission to go out. And he insists his father knows he wants to meet one-on-one. From that, the man concludes there can't be any resentment between them right now. That cheers up the devastated father who can finally meet his son. Right then, the boy shows up dressed up nicely to meet the Marquis. Chapter 11. He's the head of the respected family of swordsmen that's protected the border from monsters for generations. One of only 5 swordmasters on the entire continent, and last, and most important, the protagonist's father. Getting close to him makes the boy's hands start shaking for no obvious reason, but his body still remembers the resentment and fear he used to feel. He remembers the time they trained with swords and he got scolded and argued with over and over. Being so weak he couldn't even lift the wooden sword. It was too heavy. That was a disappointment for a swordsman family that had never had a kid that weak. For a long time he felt useless, since he couldn't use swords and thought he'd be abandoned. All those feelings hit the protagonist hard, because he remembers everything all at once. That memory belongs to the original owner of this body, the prince. But since their souls got tangled together, the feelings got connected too. Luckily, the person in control now isn't the coward he used to be. Because besides being the boy, he's also Lee, an adult in real life. His job is to prove Kyle Seltarian deserves respect. The two of them finally meet, and this weird silence settles in. Apparently, the hero had something he wanted to say to his father in that meeting. The rules were clear. He couldn't leave his room without permission. Since he'd been studying lately, he was allowed to go to the library, but he couldn't cause trouble. The hero doesn't trust his father at all, considering all the problems that happened before. Even so, his father is one of the most powerful men on the continent, and a scary opponent. Things are rough, and the only option is to deal with it through a straight-up negotiation. In the past, he would have lost his temper and snapped back, but now he seems a lot more mature. He's already caused his father enough trouble, and his past is weighing on him. So he's thinking seriously, and now he has a chance to change. After so many years of fighting, the boy finally apologizes for how he acted. On top of that, the clever kid also wants to make a deal with the Marquis. Everyone already knows the former sickly kid managed to overcome the illness that was destroying him. That's a huge miracle. Hard to believe even in a fantasy world like this. The protagonist's power is unusual, and he mixes different circles. He creates a fireball to prove he's a first circle mage. Even after hearing the warrior's story, the father still didn't believe it. But the moment he sees it with his own eyes, everything changes. He's gotten so strong he can actually feel mana running through his veins, growing more and more. You know, mages who manage to overcome that illness have insane potential. In this world, a powerful mage is worth the same as an entire order of knights. And even though his family is known for swordsmen, having a strong mage on the front lines would be a huge advantage too. If the family backs this plan, everyone can benefit from those abilities. An army that combines elite swordsmen with exceptional mages would be stronger than anything else on the continent. This deal benefits the family, and obviously the kid too. His talent is worth investing in and developing. In life, it's all about winning, and Omar K's values profit and honor above everything. Trying to play the family bond card wouldn't work, and he's totally capable of making cold-blooded decisions for the good of the family. But if their interests line up, even a shaky relationship can turn into cooperation. Now things are going to be settled between two smart adults. The old man can't even tell if that boy is really the son he used to know, because he doesn't act like a kid anymore. He seems like he's grown up. So he asked them to invest in a talent as rare as his. The negotiation went so well, he figured out exactly what the other side wanted and used that to bargain. He got exactly what he wanted, using his power and authority. It's wild seeing a kid who used to burn books talk like this. A child who was once seen as a disappointment to the family has grown and improved. Now that he's considered valuable, they'll provide funding, along with magic stones for his studies. But seriously, he needs to prove himself and not let his father down. A few days pass, and his friends come to his room. Everything's way more luxurious now, and there's a personal workshop for mages. The inside has been reinforced with a magical barrier in the walls. On top of that, the place is stocked with all kinds of tools, potions, and artifacts. The warrior is stunned because it must have cost a ridiculous amount of money. Luckily, his dear daddy was more than happy to pay every last cent. It's unexpected that grumpy man got won over by his own son's charm. Urziel is surprised too, because it's hard to use spirit magic freely inside the room. That's why her friend set up a separate space for it. The place was fitted with anti-vibration devices so she can practice freely. And she's allowed to use the workshop whenever she wants to study, because the protagonist wants her to become his right-hand person in the future, not just as a maid, but as an unprecedented spirit mage. That makes her cry a lot, since she already works every day without resting. Her goal is to learn everything she can and become someone useful. Their relationship grows even stronger, and everything seems fine. Suddenly, some stones start glowing, catching the girl's attention. The spirit circle is reacting and looks out of control. A weird kind of light comes out of the ritual, forming an incomplete spirit, and honestly, it's super cute. It immediately befriends the maid who accidentally drew it in. Looks like she summoned it by mistake just by walking near the workshop. That little mascot really matches the girl's talents. It's amazing, because this technique requires a different kind of magic. Her emotions probably helped the spirit stone respond and create that mascot. The stones had just been bought, and now they got used up instantly. No way the boy expected this to happen so early in the story. On top of that, this being is high level and can't be identified with insight. Even though it's tiny, its power is so high, it's impossible to read with human abilities. Its name is Ash, and it seems to be an ancient spirit of light. That shocks the boy. He didn't expect that cute little thing to be so powerful. Elder spirits are basically the highest tier there is, and they're some of the hardest things to summon. Its size isn't impressive, but apparently this isn't its real form. If it went back to its normal size, the whole mansion would collapse. It wants to make a contract with the girl so they can be friends from now on. For that, they need strong compatibility between them. The elder spirit agrees and starts the ritual to seal this powerful friendship contract. The maid agrees too, signing her part and gaining an ally. When it's done, she has to choose a name for her new pet. The hero suggests one, and she decides to call it Pikachu. That's the kid's latest stunt, naming it Pikachu. From now on, that'll be his name, and she's really happy to have him as a friend. The talent development project is going really well and actually working. A few days go by, and the mansion wakes up to a new morning once again. The warrior admits he hasn't been paying much attention to his protege, the way an older brother should. Then it's revealed that standing in front of him is Adolf, someone he hasn't seen in a long time. Chapter 13. The two brothers are having a meeting, with the maid serving them. The gang leader recognizes the girl. She's the same one who was sold as a slave at the market a long time ago. He compliments her, saying she's pretty, and thinks it's funny that she ended up as a maid. In a gross way, he asks for her to be sent to his house. He's definitely there because he heard the news about the cured illness, and he starts the conversation off on the wrong foot. But the hero doesn't want to leave her there and asks if someone else can be chosen instead. To get out of the situation easily, he needs to act in a totally different way. In the end, though, it's just provocation. The man wouldn't actually take someone else's maid home. Still, the boy realizes he'll have to give in for now because he can't afford to ruin the relationship yet. The kid really has improved, but he still seems like a lost cause since he's way too interested in young women. So the gang leader's plan is to corrupt him and drag him into the darkness. His body has recovered a lot, and he doesn't have problems in day-to-day life anymore. He was cured and keeps getting better every day. Even so, he's not 100% yet, since it was a really old illness and hard to fix all at once. At that moment, the MC shows a spell he created, stronger than the original. That catches the schemer's interest, since he likes the idea of creating new magic. Even without being at his peak, he's still growing fast, even though he's only a first circle student. The Lord's behavior has changed drastically, and his skills keep improving day by day. The news the maid brought sounded exaggerated, but for a 13-year-old, it's not really something to worry about. It would be way more useful to pressure him and use him in other ways before getting rid of him. Straight up, he asks his little brother if he wants to join his side in the competition. That surprises even the MC, who didn't expect to get a choice like that. After staring each other down for a while, things happen exactly the way the clever one planned. Because of that, he'll get their father's permission, and he thanks him for the trust. Just then, the warrior shows up and wishes Adolf a safe trip. Leon is hard to manipulate and still hasn't switched sides in the game. It's kind of funny to think the son of a great warrior is protecting some bratty kid. That makes things between them even weirder when Adolf leaves. Finally, the MC goes into the room after the brothers' argument ends. He explains he'll probably deal with Viscount Jerome, one of the closest allies of the 5th Legion. His friend is shocked to hear this would be his first loyalty mission. He doesn't want to let him go alone and offers to join the subjugation team too. But that's part of a strategy to earn the crime boss's trust, and he can't bring his father's allies. This is definitely a trap to test how useful the MC is in real combat. Luckily, from now on, he can protect himself using the magic he created. Even so, he decides he won't use his full magical potential. Then he asks about a settlement in the forest, far away. To the south of the territory, there's a monster colony. Regularly, the Marquis sends soldiers to subdue those enemies. This time, Lord Kyle looks like a full-on mage, ready to head out on the mission. Finally, a man gets off a horse, Viscount Jerome. He's an ally of the crime boss, and will be on the same team as the protagonist for this mission. Since it's his first real fight, he needs to be really careful and be protected when necessary. Their relationship is pretty bad, and the guy is clearly only doing this as a favor. Even so, they head out and don't talk much. The Viscount's orders are to watch the boy and judge how skilled he is in combat, but he doesn't believe a weakling like that can do much while carrying a dangerous illness in his body. During the fight, the boy fires lightning spells at the goblins in front of him. The hit is perfect. One shot is enough to wipe out the whole group. That impresses the team and improves things with everyone, who end up pretty happy. The mission wraps up fast, and it was the easiest subjugation they've had in a while, thanks to the hero. He'd never seen anything that easy before, and his reputation shoots up fast, all the way to level 90. Of course, Lord Adolf is going to be really happy when he hears how well his little brother did. Now the plan is to move on to the next step he's got in mind. Chapter 14. Back at camp, everyone's celebrating the win thanks to the kid. All innocently, he says he doesn't deserve the praise because he didn't do anything that impressive. The soldiers admit they had the young master all wrong and start complimenting his skills. And on top of being good in a fight, he didn't complain about the camp food either. He seems way more mature than his age. Thinking about how his brother used to take on dangerous missions like this, he realizes he can't act like a spoiled brat when it's his turn. The men are shocked to see the kid admires the crime boss that much. The plan is going exactly as expected. The soldiers like the protagonist now, and they're ready to talk him up. While everyone else sleeps, the adventurer decides to take a walk not too far from camp. Since he's just a kid, nobody suspects a thing, and everyone buys the innocent act. After today's victory, the knights are completely wiped out and crash in their beds. Only a few guards are left, and they're exhausted too, barely even paying attention. Now he's going to try to take out a few ogres and grind as much XP as possible, like he used to. From his pocket, he pulls out a perfume that can attract those giants from up to 10 kilometers away. A few days earlier, he realized he was the first person in the world to create a scent that draws in those creatures without following any existing recipe. The better the quality and the smell, the more monsters it pulls in at once. The problem is, the team's supposed to be hunting goblins, and ogres are way too strong to take on without a plan. The squad has 12 experienced knights, and they can handle weak enemies, but giants are a whole different story. Even though they're loyal to the crime boss, their individual skills are pretty mediocre. They're basically cannon fodder. They're street criminals who became a legion after being talked into it by that backstabbing guy. The brainwashing was so intense it turned them into fanatics, and his influence spread easily because of it. These people obey blindly, and with every move their master makes, a tragedy could happen. So the protagonist plans to weaken the 5th Legion as much as possible before Succession Day. To start, he's going to force those 12 fighters to battle a powerful ogre to the bitter end, and he plans to be the only one left alive after this deadly fight, once he activates the scent. It doesn't take long for a two-headed creature to show up, drawn in by the perfume spreading through the surrounding forest. The warriors, already tired, get caught off guard by the giant, which takes out their companions with ease. One of the men, really brave, begs them not to run yet. Sadly, his end is brutal, and it quickly becomes obvious that running is the best option. He was one of the strongest soldiers on the team. Now only the mid-tier guys are left, and they can't do much. Trying to fire everyone up, he asks if that's really how honorable warriors would act in a fight. If they fail this mission, those ogres will definitely push into allied territory and slaughter people. Taking charge, he gets everyone to agree to follow his orders from now on. Luckily, the Viscount is a high-level warrior and says he can handle it alone, but the MC doesn't want help. He's staying until the end, backing him up with magic. He knows he couldn't face his brother again if he abandoned his men in battle, so he casts a spell, boosting the warrior even more with his abilities. Since it's only first circle magic, he can mostly control the situation for now, without dealing much damage yet. Still, he'll face the fight head-on, without backing off out of fear. The Viscount knows Kyle is an essential tool for the army and already trusts him a lot. Activating his sword's powerful skill, he gets ready to cut down any ogre that comes close. He charges straight at the two-headed ogre, ready to take both heads off with his blade. The other soldiers, seeing nobody's panicking, can't show their pathetic side, so they hype themselves up too. The protagonist tells his guys to give it everything they've got in this brutal fight, and it's working perfectly because the ogres he summoned are going to wipe out the weaker soldiers. The attraction perfume is a success. It even managed to call in creatures up to 3 times stronger than normal, and this is exactly where part of the 5th Legion is going to meet its end. Chapter 15. He feels so powerful, he thinks he can take the ogre down by himself. He lands a heavy hit on one of the twin heads, and they immediately go on alert. And everyone's blown away by the aerial fight between the two. Almost all the strongest knights have already gone down, and the weaker troops are starting to panic. Watching everything from far away, the little psycho is happy to see his scheme working. Without lifting a finger, he's going to wipe out every enemy easily. Without realizing it, he handed that job to the giant ogre, who'll do it with his own fists. Jerome wonders if they can really win this battle and starts thinking it might be time for the last resort. He was given a power from the darkness to get stronger, and if he lets it loose, he'll never be able to go back to normal. Sylvaday says that when that happens, he'll turn into an angry monster with no humanity left. That's why this power should never be wasted on some random weak enemy. He'll definitely be able to beat the ogre, but he'll never get any peace from the rage of the beast. But maybe that's still better than dying like a loser to an ogre. From a distance, Kyle says he'll provide magical protection. That gives the Viscount more confidence, and he feels fired up by the mage. Saying it's still too early to use the last resort, Kyle triggers a mental cleanse on his friends. All of a sudden, everyone feels a burst of energy and starts believing they're the best of the 5th Legion. Giving it everything they've got, they want to show their true strength. While they fight, the MC watches everything from far away, paying close attention. In just a few seconds, they all start dropping, getting taken out by the big beast. The priority was to eliminate the 12 knights, and now only Jerome is left. Their sacrifice won't be for nothing, and he asks for one more support spell to finish the mutant once and for all. Moving the pieces like pawns, he channels even more mana to wrap up the plan, and he activates a kind of power that starts wrapping around him in purple shapes. Pinned by the claws, all he can do is stare straight ahead and face his opponent. The ogre is right in front of him, and its eyes shine with happiness. Using just one hand, it's going to finish the man once and for all, brutally. In front of all the soldiers, their leader gets crushed and is gone for good. That throws everyone into chaos because they all think they're about to die. Fire starts surrounding the beast's body, and it screams in pain. Then, right in front of everyone, it collapses to the ground, already dead. Ending the fight, the young master climbs on top of the enemy. From inside it, he pulls out a high-value crystal, and now it's time to pull a pretty shady move. He starts lying, saying that thanks to the Viscount, he brought the enemy down. This victory belongs to the 12 brave warriors and to everyone who fought for their own lives. So they start praising the Lord who won on the battlefield. The results of this subjugation were a success, and the two-headed mutant was eliminated. On top of that, they also took out dozens of goblins, which was the original goal. Unfortunately, they took heavy losses during the battle. Hearing the news, the evil blonde guy can't believe it and asks if it's true. They explain that Jerome ended up dying in a brutal fight against a mutant in the forest. The blow was so fast he didn't even have time to use the power of darkness. Losing that man is a huge hit to the squad. Never mind all the dead soldiers, there's nothing else to do, and they want to somehow recover that ogre from the camp. Only then does he say he's relieved to see his brother made it back safely. After all, defeating an enemy that strong was the young man's big achievement. Because of that, their father will be informed, and everyone will get the honors they deserve. The mask the MC wears, the innocent brother act, starts slipping for Adolfo, who walks away angry and suspicious. But for now, it looks like the brother is still being fooled pretty easily. The MC got his brother's recognition and took down the 5th Legion. It was a master play, and he jokes that maybe it counts as killing 3 birds with 1 stone. A mutant is no big deal, since the warrior could take one down alone, without help. And joking around, he says he only meant to look weak at the start. Looks like he really wants to get closer to his evil brother's side without telling Abel anything. This is all part of the plan, and in the future he'll be acknowledged and they'll come looking for him. A few days later, a meeting happens in the family's conference room. At that meeting, they'll review the expedition results and decide how to split the loot. Also, the young man's contributions will be discussed for the first time in that inner circle, and if anyone has any objections, they can speak freely. One of the barons thinks this is over the top since back in the day the kid was just some weak nobody. Awkwardly, he says he likes the boy, but he's not sure if he should say what he really thinks. Turns out the kid's still just a first circle mage, basically a beginner. Even so, the baron thinks most of his achievements are being exaggerated just because he took part and came back alive. And he wraps it up by saying it's hard to believe the MC suddenly matured overnight. He reminds everyone of all the trouble the kids caused before. In the past, Kyle could only smile while people talked trash about him right to his face. Clearly, the barons never had to face a real wolf before making a judgment like that. When they get to the hall, the MC says it's not as easy as it looks, and you have to see it with your own eyes. Defending his brother, Abel says even strong knights would struggle to take down a 2-headed creature. Some people clap back, saying it only happened because the knights gave their lives to protect the kid. Still, the finishing blow was Kyle's, something confirmed by the witnesses who survived. Unlike before, the boys focused on studying magic now, and the baron should put his personal issues aside. Angry, Adolfo tells the man to stop trying to ruin everything. Still backing up his brother, he threatens him and says not to cross the line. All of a sudden, everyone seems eager to defend the kid now that he's starting to show real value. At that moment, the evil brother agrees Kyle's reward should include a huge amount of money. After all, the warriors saw the kid's brutal fight and have no doubts about what he did. Because of that, he's granted his freedom and he can finally access the main residence and go outside. But the mutant loot will still be handed out based on contributions, and the boy won't get any of it. By the end of the meeting, the MC doesn't get why he's not receiving anything after everything he did. So he goes to ask his father why this is happening since he didn't cause any trouble at all. But the old man's sharp. He knows the kid kept the ogre's heart as his reward. Not knowing what to say, the MC thanks him for at least being allowed to leave the house. Just then, the gang boss shows up wanting to talk to the boy. He says he kept his end of the deal and told the father about the kid's accomplishments, and he asks that, in the future, the boy remembers how much he cares. From a distance, Abel thinks it's been a while since he paid attention to his little brother, and he hopes to talk to him sometime. Problem is, that time has already come, and he says it's some unknown ability not even their father understands. That leaves the MC confused about why he's suddenly spilling secrets out of nowhere. A little earlier, after the conference ended, Abel shows up to praise his little brother. He says the kid handled the battle really well, and that now he's a respected mage in the family. Then he asks if the boy has time later so they can eat together. He explains he wants to have a small get-together to hear the details of what happened during the forest expedition. But the boy suspects the warrior has some hidden reason for asking about his achievements. And right away, he starts revealing secrets even their father didn't know, for no obvious reason. It's pretty clear he wants to recruit the MC to take down the forces Adolf created before it's too late. The MC has to choose his words carefully and asks why he knows that secret. He says he's scared of what could happen once something that big gets exposed. Like you'd expect from an older brother, he clearly wants something from the kid in return. But being blunt, the little one says he's not really on the middle brother's side. Still, that doesn't mean he plans to join the good guys either. Time passes, and we see Adolf going all out with his dark powers. He finally finds out his older brother went to have a little chat with Kyle too. That pisses off the crime boss, because he spotted the kid's talent first and doesn't want to lose that edge. And if the MC switches sides, Adolf would rather poison him than let him become an enemy. Apparently, that's why the maid is in the mansion, in case stuff like that happens. Back to the family talk, Abel wants to know why the youngest has been acting the way he has. Honestly, the MC says the older brother is really kind, which leaves him embarrassed. When he activates his ability, he can't see much about the character since the level is too high. The only bad thing is their relationship is neutral, with no favor points at all. He keeps acting weird in front of the good blonde guy, who doesn't even know how to react. And the other one apologizes. Even though he was the older brother, he never really had time to look after the little one before. Still, the MC forgives him, since he used to act like a total jerk, and that's why nobody liked him. Abel laughs, because the kid is genuinely really good at making smart jokes. He regrets not having bonded with his clever brother before losing him to Adolf, and he says he can offer everything the other side is promising, and on even better terms. He doesn't want to give up on this deal and asks if there's still room to rethink it. That worries the kid, who asks if he'll get taken out if he joins the enemy side. After all, Adolf is different, and he's cruel even to his own family. If he becomes a traitor, they'll definitely use whatever method it takes to get him out of the way. Even though he's a prodigy mage, he still doesn't have enough strength to protect himself day to day. This is the first time someone in the family has given Abel such a deep read on the crime boss. What's funny is the man doesn't disagree with the assessment, he even goes quiet. And that takes them back to the start of the conversation, when the MC says his useless skill is having really good intuition. Since he was little, he's always gotten a bad feeling right before something awful was about to happen. And whenever he listened to that gut feeling, he managed to stay out of dangerous situations. With the ceremony getting closer every day, those feelings are getting stronger, especially around the evil brother. That skill feels like some kind of future sight, like the MC's intuition. And after ending up in the boy's body, he definitely developed a talent he didn't have before. Because of that, other NPCs are going through system changes that never used to happen. Even so, Adolf is family, and the Marquis' second direct heir, so he can't just cross the line. But the MC is there because he's got this really bad feeling, and he's kept it secret until now. He trusts his gut and knows that if Adolf becomes the Marquis, the family is finished, and nobody will be safe, including the young master. So his plan is to join the enemy side and watch everything up close while earning their trust. At the end of the operation, the idea is to hit them with everything they've got from behind. And if the good brother helps, things will go way smoother, with a much better chance of success. As the older brother, Abel can't turn down such a solid proposal from his brother, and says he'll help him. But first, the MC wants a small favor to kick off the missions. Chapter 18. A few days ago, they found a bag of platinum coins, basically months' worth of pay. The blonde guy wonders where all that money suddenly came from. But actually, the MC got it thanks to Abel, who lent him some cash. On top of being hot, he's loaded, and he bankrolls the mission the moment he hears the plan. And it's kind of wild because nobody knew the older brother was that generous. With this personal communicator, they'll be able to talk without being in the same place. This kind of thing is so expensive you could buy a mansion with a garden for the price of just one. This is only the basic version, and it only lets you talk directly to one person, but there are even pricier versions. It's pretty obvious the meeting with Abel went really well, and they teamed up on a plan. Meanwhile, the Guardian will need to hold on to the money until it's time to use it. They don't really have anywhere to spend it right now, and the kid already wants to farm even more coins. It's like an investment plan for the future, the way a clever mage would think. At that moment, the maid is training with her staff, spirit magic. Pikachu can latch onto the tip of her staff to light up the area. Unfortunately, the magic doesn't work, and she can't get the light to shine. The pet doesn't want to get off the MC's head, and the MC thinks he's basically a headlamp. That makes the blonde guy think of something and wonder why they're inside a freaking mountain. The last thing he remembers is them leaving home to visit a neighboring region. And then, out of nowhere, they ended up inside a cave because the MC decided to make a quick stop. This isn't the kind of place they should stay in for long, since exploring could hide all kinds of danger. It's so dangerous he remembers the angry monsters they ran into at the cave entrance. The deeper they go, the fewer they see, which is weird, which means there's a big, tough boss at the end of this area. Getting ready for anything, he warns that they need to head back outside. But that was the protagonist's plan all along. He says that's exactly what he's here for. Everything he said was true. He really does have business in the next town over. But he also knew there was a dungeon on the way. If he'd said from the start that they were going to a dungeon, nobody would have let the MC leave the house, because either one of the brothers would insist on coming along somehow, and it'd turn into total chaos. And there's also the issue with little Urziel. Her magic spirit needs to be trained in secret, and only her dad knows about her. Basically, if there were too many people around, he wouldn't be able to keep the loot all to himself. The problem is, the girl only just started studying magic, and the MC just hit level 2. That annoys the kid who claims he only pretends to be weak to fool the suckers. Their 3-person party is already strong enough to take on any big monster out there. On the team, there's a beefy tank, a kind healer, and, best of all, a damage mage who's got everything under control. All proud. He says his master is already strong and is only going to get stronger in the future. Messing with the bodyguard, he asks who he'll swear loyalty to in the end, him or his father. After all, a knight with two masters isn't truly loyal to either one. That leaves the man speechless as he thinks it over. Right now, Leon is following the Marquis's orders to keep the sons safe, meaning the knight isn't really loyal to the Marquis. He needs to choose a real master. To win this knight over, just showing off his skills won't be enough. Once he's finally acknowledged, he'll gain that impenetrable shield for his army forever. So, the three of them together push deeper into the dangerous labyrinth. At the very end, they reach the boss room and it's sitting there, waiting. Its name is the Sanctuary's secret Minotaur, the guardian of these walls. In the game, this place was popular with beginners for farming XP and money. And the best part is the reward is super generous compared to how easy it is. As greedy as ever, he doesn't want to share his treasure with anyone. That monster is known for being 3 times stronger than a normal ogre. But the mage is smart and already has a perfect plan to block and counter its attacks. With the sword and magic from the two of them, they manage to piss the Minotaur off and bait it. It's a risky move, and they have to dodge with perfect timing every second. Ideally, you dodge to the sides and avoid getting hit as much as possible. When the big guy gets tired, they'll go in and attack, while Urziel supports. Since it's the girl's first fight, it's fine if she hides behind rocks to cast spells. But she wants to help as much as she can, and she didn't train magic just to hide. That makes the boy admire her even more. She's insanely brave. On this mission, her job is to heal and support the others to protect Lord Kyle. Actually, she gets corrected. The most important thing is surviving to the end. As long as she doesn't go down, her hands will keep Leon and the MC standing. One last rule is not to forget to protect herself when things get dangerous. She gets it, and remembers she's inside a dungeon, in some unknown place. How important a healer is in a fight and the strategy to beat the Minotaur are things you only really learn with real experience. It's weird how the young guy knows all this, considering he spent his whole life stuck inside. Leon starts wondering how he's so familiar with dungeon strategies. When they ask if it's his first time in a dungeon, he realizes he's been acting way too much like an expert. So he lies, saying he picked up some basic tips during the goblin hunt, when he fought the ogre. But that excuse doesn't really work because not even the soldiers knew how to deal with a simple ogre. So the warrior concludes that Kid isn't the real Lord Kyle, the one he's served for so long. He orders them to capture him because there's no way that child could suddenly act so mature. Clearly, the boy is possessed by an evil spirit and needs to be burned. Unfortunately, that would be game over for the protagonist. But that's all in his head, and it can't happen. He changes the story and lies that he read about minotaurs in a book, and also in strategy books. Surprisingly, the blonde guy likes that and is impressed that he studies battle tactics too. He gets so proud he says his friend's progress is incredible. Their relationship improves a lot, and it becomes easy to convince him. Still, he needs to come up with some excuse since he doesn't want to be labeled a magic genius forever. Finally, she manages to make the staff light up like a protective charm. She activates a healing spell and it releases a bunch of spirits into the area. This power boosts your HP and defense, and it also increases your mana and the sword's energy. It's way stronger than the original because the girl upgraded it. Now the three of them are super fired up to fight, because it's finally time to face the huge Minotaur. The warrior goes in first, sprinting straight at it with his sword. His plan is to clash head-on with the Minotaur to draw its attention and wear it out. He lands a heavy hit right on the beast's head, but that just makes the big monster furious, and it gets up to strike back. With his friend's magic, the warrior's body looks different, stronger. When the Minotaur wakes up, it asks who's messing with its sleep. Then it yells that it won't forgive anyone who tries to reach the treasure. To rub it in even more, someone blasts an ice spell right in its face mid-sentence. Then the kid steps up, saying he's the one who did it. He fires off a bunch of ice shots at the enemy. Taking advantage of the opening, the warrior delivers clean, precise slashes with his blade. He stays locked in, and proves he's a knight worthy of the team. Chapter 20. He lands powerful blows on the monster's shoulder without losing focus. The monster can't believe it. It's shocked by that kind of nerve. It unleashes all its rage on the people daring to come near its treasure. Getting ready for a killing blow, it wants to wipe them all out. No survivors. Luckily, the boy sets up ropes and magic rituals to protect himself. Having its attack blocked just makes the Minotaur even angrier, like it's being humiliated. Still, the force is insane, and the barrier showed up at the perfect time to save him. Kyle's magic is crazy precise. He always knows the next move and ends up basically leading the fight. He reads the situation on instinct and uses magic like nobody else. so the young guy is controlling the whole battle with his powers. Next, he traps the Minotaur with ropes that pin it to the ground. Right after that, a bunch of magic missiles slam into the big idiot's back. It does so much damage that it drops to its knees. Nobody can believe the mage is that strong when he's so young. Not bad, but the Minotaur can still take a lot more. Pissed off, it roars that this is the end and activates its strongest move. It starts spinning like a tornado straight at the unprepared trio. At that moment, Leon has to hold the front line while the others move off to the sides. Blessed with magic, he gets even more determined as he runs. He throws his sword with perfect aim, going for the bull's neck. That's enough to pull it, full of rage, right toward the fleeing knight. While all this is happening, the protagonist is counting the seconds in his head. Dodging is the best strategy to tire the big monster out. Once that happens, it'll be the perfect chance to hit back at full power. 5 seconds left, and the beast is already starting to wear out. When the count ends, from sheer exhaustion, it misses by just a few centimeters and almost nails the knight. Right then, all the blessings wear off, leaving the boy totally defenseless. Luckily, the bull stops moving and just freezes there on the ground. It's wild how Kyle calculated everything in his head. He steps in to deliver the finishing blow. By breaking past his skill limits, he brings real magic into the world again. He creates ice spears and hurls them at the enemy. After the fight ends, the girl heals the warrior's wounds. Finally, it's time to grab the valuable treasure from that labyrinth. In front of them is a chest so shiny it looks like it's enchanted. Using his intuition, Kyle sees the jewels and gear inside the reward. The powerful sword is made from solid dinosaur bone artifacts. There's also a beautiful necklace. Something the spirits would definitely love. Each person gets what suits them, and now it's the mage's turn. Inside the treasure, he finds the Staff of Bravery, giving off this classy aura. That's a trick experienced players used when they wanted to run an overpowered mage build. With that choice, he won't have to worry about weapons for a long time. The warrior's sword is also amazing, with magical effects that make the risk worth it. He remembers the loyalty talk he had earlier with his young master. The maid feels really guilty because she thinks she's the only one getting things from Kyle. She wants to be useful without accepting treasure she could never pay back. The warrior agrees those treasures are way too expensive for just anyone to use. But Kyle explains he's not giving them this stuff just as a reward. He's doing it to make them stronger. He says it again. The stronger they are, the better their chances of surviving. He also says there isn't much time, and they need to boost the group's strength with a smart plan. Breaking the family's rules, he doesn't plan to report all those supplies so people won't figure out how strong he's getting. Those two are the only ones he can trust to keep the artifacts safe. He repeats that the only way they'll survive is by getting stronger. Then he asks if the pair, still kind of awkward about it, are really going to accept the gifts. After a successful mission, they come back and decide to head to the neighboring city. Chapter 21. A few days earlier, something happened on the farms around Empalum. The Count freaks out when he hears someone from the Marquise's family suddenly showed up at his castle. As he rushes over, he wants to know who it is, and notices the person is carrying the family's lineage symbol. He knows the succession coming up is basically a storm about to hit. And there's this unspoken rule: don't get involved in another house's business. Before opening the door, he braces himself because he really doesn't want this headache. Acting casual, he asks what brings the Marquise out here to his land. He's shocked to see the visitor is already eating, and it's just a kid. Apologizing for coming in without permission, the boy says it's an honor to meet Frantel. It's a huge slap in the face to the Count's family. Then he realizes Kyle is that son everyone used to hate. At least his reputation as a troublemaker only started changing recently. After getting over his illness, Kyle thought about how he'd been acting and decided to seriously change. He says he's studying magic now and, over time, forming new circles. That's weird because the rumors about the youngest son said he was unbearable. But seeing him in person, the Count realizes those stories were fake, like, completely the opposite of the truth. In his mind, someone must have paid to spread those rumors to smear the family. It's impressive. The first mage born into a famous swordsman family. Sign of a bright future. In the end, the Count gets eager to talk business and gets even more interested. Obviously, the kid didn't come all this way, unannounced, just to say hi. Apologizing, Kyle says he knows his family's situation is touchy because of the succession, and he explains he came to buy grain from the farms and stock up the biggest warehouse in the north. Actually, the Marquise family already has a deal with the Count, and maybe they want to expand it now. He says it's for magical research he can't reveal yet, but it won't be a one-time thing. The town definitely has more than enough product for the next few years, and it's going to make a lot of money off the sales. As payment, Kyle shows a chest full of shiny coins, valuable anywhere. It's pretty strange for a kid his age to have platinum coins just lying around. Still, the Count doesn't see a problem making the deal. And he doesn't even ask what the research is about. Before wrapping up though, he wants to confirm where that money came from, because the source could be sketchy, maybe even stolen. After all, the Marquis is just a kid, and that kind of money doesn't match his age. Luckily, his older, rich brother is funding this whole thing. If he's willing to spend that much, it means the two of them are really close. Abel is the most promising son in the family, calm and classy. Making this deal will also help score some points with the White Knight. Talking prices. Each sack of grain costs 4 silver coins, so they spend a while haggling while the blonde guy stays quiet. After a long back and forth, they settle on 5 coins per sack. The bodyguard feels pretty proud of the kid's negotiating skills, especially for his age. It turns out the protagonist learned all that from watching online bargaining sites in the real world. Part of the plan for going to Impellum was to make money, and buying grain might be part of that. The idea is to buy as much as possible while it's cheap and sell once demand goes up. But his state already has enough food for a whole year, so it might not be that profitable. With future knowledge, he's getting ready just in case something happens in the next few months. A massive famine is coming, according to the game's story, right after the succession happens. That'll mess up trade and make grain prices shoot up. Even with all that money, people won't be able to buy food, and nobody's going to care if you're old or young. Unfortunately, he can't tell his friend without giving away that he knows the future. So far, everything the kid's been doing has worked out really well. So the blonde guy thinks that this time, it's probably a good idea too, getting their relationship up to 50, something that's never happened before. It's super rewarding for the boy to see that progress, since they started out in the negatives. A maid shows up saying the Count wants to talk before dinner, and that he really shouldn't forget. When he gets to the sitting room, he's told the man wants to introduce him to someone. Standing in front of him is Frontel's daughter, with purple hair. She's really pretty, and her name is Iris Neron. All of this is a huge surprise to the young guy. He wasn't expecting a meeting like this. As he walks up, the girl says it's a pleasure to meet him for the first time and introduces herself. In the game, she's super strong and beautiful and really popular, especially early on, when she becomes a really useful powerhouse. The only problem is her arrogant personality. She can't stand weak people. She says she won't accept anything less than diamonds for a date. She has the greedy personality trait. Because of that trait, a bunch of players went broke trying to raise their relationship with her. As power creep hit the game, S ranks became common, and she, who was supposed to be valuable as an A rank, ended up becoming useless and got tossed aside. Since her difficult personality doesn't exactly make anyone want to deal with all that. It's also weird that the Count suddenly introduced his daughter to him out of nowhere. All sly about it, he says they're about the same age and should get along great. Iris is studying magic too, just like the protagonist. Still hyping his daughter up, he says she has exceptional talent for magic. He explains that since they're both learning, they can study together. From the protagonist's point of view, she doesn't want that and looks like she's being forced into it. Still, he introduces himself, explaining he's the Marquis's 4th son. Trusting his instincts, he's actually looking forward to getting advice from her. When he checks her status, he sees their relationship is at -40. On top of that, she has an interesting talent. She's a mana companion. In the original game, that talent is insanely rare. Only 0.01% of SSS ranks had it, so maybe the purple-haired girl has some new potential too. Even with her awful personality, that talent changes everything. She's heard plenty about Lord Abel and Adolf, but nothing about the protagonist. Trying to put him down, she says she's in the 2nd circle, while he hasn't gotten past the 1st. That annoys him, because she's been unpleasant since she was a kid. But he explains he's only been learning magic for 3 months, forming a circle that fast beats her record. She took longer. Still, starting at 13 is considered really late, since most people start by 10 at the latest. If he just thinks of her like a whiny cat, he can tolerate the annoying attitude. He says he started late because he used to have an illness, and he only recently managed to overcome it. That stops her cold because she knows how hard it is to break through that barrier. Her father explains that to overcome it, you have to be born with extraordinary mana in your body. That's why people who manage it are called geniuses and prodigies. It's incredible that the young master pulled it off at only 13. Hopefully Iris can learn something from the good influences around her. Of course, she doesn't want to talk to someone she thinks is weaker, since she believes he's only 1st circle. That personality is going to cause a lot of problems and needs to be fixed, ASAP. And that's how Recruitment Project 3 begins. You can't judge people by how they look, and he's going to prove he's not weak. She freaks out when she sees the boy get way too close to her face in a weird way. Ignoring the Count being right there, he challenges her to a one-on-one duel. If he loses, he'll have no problem admitting he's weaker than her. In a twisted way, if the girl wins, she wants him to lick and kiss her feet. That leaves the Count completely embarrassed, wondering where she even learned something like that. The boy is shocked too, not understanding what kind of book you'd have to read to find that. Apparently, she likes reading weird romance novels that are way above the recommended age range. Even so, the boy doesn't back down and says that if he loses, he'll lick whatever she wants. That line, out of context, totally catches the Count off guard. Changing the terms, the boy says that if he wins, he'll be her new teacher in the future, and on top of that, she can never talk trash about someone with a lower rank again, and she has to promise it. That pisses her off because she's cocky and knows a first circle beginner couldn't possibly beat her. Embarrassed, the Count admits his daughter has personality issues since she's been spoiled from an early age. If things keep going like this, it'll be really hard for her to live in the world without getting into trouble sooner or later. At her age, she doesn't have any friends because of her bad reputation, so he asks the boy to forgive her since he also had a rough childhood. It'll definitely be a good learning experience for her, and he allows the two of them to duel. That gets the boy fired up. He basically just needed the Count's approval to do what he wanted. On the other side of the mansion, she's still pissed at the boy who thought he could beat her. But she's also confused because she thought he was pretty cute, and she decides she's going to make him lick her foot. The Count definitely has another reason for introducing his daughter to the MC, even though she's only 11. She's already at the right age to start getting marriage proposals. Maybe the guy is thinking about the two of them ending up together someday. In that world, nobles get married earlier than commoners. Feeling grossed out, the MC realizes why the girl was suddenly put into a meeting with him. Annoyed, he says that if that's true, then he needs to crush her even harder in the fight. Thinking it's messed up to marry someone with an unbearable attitude just for status, he decides to go all out and try to fix her awful personality. The maid is sad when she hears about Lord Kyle's marriage proposal with the girl. The next day comes and now it's time for the kids' duel. The opponent has to be defeated using magic, but nobody can get hurt in the process. If it starts looking dangerous, the fight will be stopped immediately. The judge will be the guardian. Since he's a famous, experienced knight, he won't make an unfair call. The battle is announced, and the girl opens right away with her fire wand, shooting flaming arrows at the MC. For an 11-year-old, her casting speed is really fast. Even so, the hero has the advantage and activates his wind power, knocking the arrows off course. Using air to deflect the flames was a really smart move. Irritated, she says not to underestimate her magical power. She's not going to lose. Once again, she throws out a fire spell, this time stronger. Luckily, the MC was ready and creates an energy dome to protect himself. Looking at everything calmly, he admits she's brave and seriously impressive. To counterattack, he starts an energy ritual and asks if she can block it. That shocks the Count, who didn't expect the hero to be able to cast 2 spells at the same time. That kind of technique is super advanced even for experienced mages, let alone someone who's level 1. At the last second, she manages to activate a shield spell that protects her from a hit that would have ended the fight. But her fire attack gets absorbed by the wind. That starts to freak her out, and she has to cast more spells faster. Right then, the hero appears up close, holding his staff in front of her face in an intimidating way. That's basically the end of the fight, proving who the better mage is. The boy is thrilled, while the girl is left speechless by what just happened. She's furious about losing, for the first time to a first circle mage. She yells that it was all luck and that the win doesn't count. Wanting a rematch, she says she wasn't in good shape for a moment. Still, the hero agrees, because he knows the result won't be any different. That just makes the purple-haired girl even angrier, and she says she'll win this time. 5 rounds go by, and every single one is won by Lord Kyle. No matter how many times she tries, the outcome is always the same. So he says to end the fight, since she's probably out of mana by now. She gets so mad that she starts crying in front of everyone. She throws a tantrum because she can't accept losing to someone weaker. Unfortunately, the MC made her cry. Maybe he was too harsh. That night, the Count gives him some new clothes to wear to the banquet. It's good to dress properly, since it's a formal event and everyone will be dressed up. The guy seems friendly, because even with his daughter crying, he still invites the MC to dinner. Ever since Kyle beat Iris, he seems even more determined to bring the families closer, even though the girl is definitely hating the boy even more now. But the blonde guy doesn't notice and thinks, from her expression, that it's something else. He seems really experienced in a lot of areas, but when it comes to romance, he doesn't get it at all. In the end, his maid friend helps him get ready and finishes everything up. He ends up looking super handsome and classy, matching the outfit. When he gets complimented, he gets even more excited to go to the party. People were expecting Kyle to show up, and he thanks them for the invitation. They're happy to meet him, introduce themselves, and say who they are and which families they come from. The problem is the princess is taking forever to arrive to this family gathering. Since he made her cry earlier, the MC thinks she won't want to see him again. Luckily, she finally walks into the room, and she looks gorgeous. Like always, she gets embarrassed when she runs into the MC again. The same happens to him. He has no idea how to act in front of someone that beautiful. It's unexpected, because he thought their friendship had been ruined for good. She already knew the boy was good-looking, but dressed up like that, he looks even better. Now it's time for everyone to sit down and eat the house's delicious food. The MC sits next to Iris, not sure if he should, because of what happened earlier. When he activates his intuition skill, he notices their relationship level went up a bit. He doesn't get how their friendship jumped 30 points when he didn't even do anything. Maybe it happened because of one of her traits, so it's good to be ready next time. Luckily, the meal is way more pleasant than he expected. Even she acts calm in front of the family, without being arrogant. But then there's a moment when she asks her older brother to pass the pepper. Right away, the MC hands her the closest salt shaker he can see. At that moment, their hands touch, and she gets completely flustered. Neither of them knows how to react, and they try to avoid looking each other in the eye. Even though their relationship improved, the girl's behavior somehow feels worse. The next day, the MC is surprised by a visitor who shows up in his room. Standing there is Lady Iris, calmly sipping some coffee. She came to hold up her end of the deal, becoming the protagonist's student. She's really curious why the boy's magic is so powerful for someone who's only level 1. His style of magic has never shown up in any book and seems really different from the usual method. So she demands that he tell her everything he knows about this new magic style. But he'll only accept her as his student if she changes her attitude. So he asks her to be more polite and kinder to other people. And more importantly, to think twice before getting mad and running off crying. That annoys her, because not even her father makes demands like that. So he explains that his magic really does come from a unique method, one he created himself. This hybrid magic method has never been published anywhere in the world, so there's nowhere else to learn it except from the inventor in person. And he knows a smart girl like her understands what it means to train with the creator. Even after thinking hard, she can't find any way to argue, so she accepts his terms. Cleverly, the MC had already prepared everything ahead of time. He makes a magic contract with his own hands, right in front of her. It has all the conditions written out that she has to accept to become his disciple. All she has to do is use that pretty pen to sign it. If the contract is broken, divine forces will make sure there's a horrible punishment. Admitting it, he says he wouldn't have gone through all this trouble. The Count himself is the one who gave the contract to the hero. After the fight the day before, he got eager for their lessons to start. And if Iris doesn't listen to anyone, the magic contract can be used as a rare family treasure. That really ticks off the purple-haired girl, and she can't believe her dad actually said that. Angry, she storms off, saying she's going to confront him and find out the truth. The problem is, if she leaves, their contract will be cancelled. If that happens, the magic won't be taught, and they'll never see each other again. With no time to waste, she has to decide whether she'll accept the terms and get trained, or walk out of the room and never see the MC again. Chapter 25. She needs to decide fast whether she's going to sign the document or not. Out of patience, the boy isn't going to put up with this crying act for long. Even though her potential is high, he considers giving up because of her personality. After all, he needs reliable allies, not someone who needs constant coddling. After a long time hesitating, she agrees and says she'll sign the papers. She slams the contract down on the table, still annoyed, like a spoiled girl. But the MC warns her she should read the conditions before signing blindly. He explains that Iris will be the student and he'll be the teacher in this arrangement. On the paper, there are 7 rules written down that have to be followed for the deal to work. She was so nervous about the punishments that she didn't even notice they were pretty mild demands. But the 7th rule is really strict, and it requires her to actually fight sometimes. The hero asks why she really wants to learn magic. True to her personality, she says it's because she wants to be better than everyone else. She likes being praised, and she thinks it's exciting to beat up weaklings until they follow her rules. She wants people to admire her, so that's why she started studying magic. But lately, she's also started enjoying studying on her own. And watching her skills grow and get stronger is a lot of fun. Because of that, she doesn't even notice when she spends the whole night up reading books. It's motivating to see how competitive she is and how badly she wants to improve. He confirms that the most important factor in becoming a powerful mage isn't mana. A thirst for exploration and intellectual curiosity are what really drive magic. Those are the talents of someone with the mana companion skill. She admits that ever since she started studying, she's wanted to get stronger, and finally she signs the contract, agreeing to become his student. With the paper in hand, the MC says the deal is official. Smiling, he's excited to start working with the girl by his side, and he hopes Iris becomes a reliable companion in the near future. That freaks her out, because she takes those words in a romantic way. After the conversation, she runs out of the room, embarrassed about what just happened. The boy really should be more careful with his wording, especially since he's pretty handsome. Hearing that, the maid stays quiet in the background, watching the whole thing. That same night, the MC spits out his water when he hears a question about marriage. Like, is he really going to marry Iris? The one asking is Yerziel, who doesn't show it, but seems kind of jealous. He explains he doesn't even want to think about marriage yet, since he's 13. Annoyed, he says everyone in that town is in a rush to get married early. The world is about to end, and there's no time to waste on love and weddings. So the maid understands her master isn't thinking about any of that right now. At least not until he turns 18. Out of nowhere, the girl says her mom used to be really beautiful. So when she grows up and becomes a real young lady, she'll be pretty like her too. When she leaves, the boy ends up alone, embarrassed, not even sure what just happened. The kids in that place are really mature and already worry about marriage stuff. When she grows up, she'll be even prettier than she already is, because even now she's gorgeous. And then he starts thinking a bit more about who Yerziel's mother was, a woman who originally came from a noble family before being sold as a slave. Sadly, her father and brothers have already died, but her mother and sister are missing. The girl is definitely worried, but probably feels too guilty to ask her friend about it. Still, the boy decides that someday he should look into it. A few days pass, and finally it's time to head back home. Iris's family is at the gate, saying goodbye all elegantly. Weirdly, the girl wishes the teacher had stayed a few more days at her house. Luckily, next month he'll be back to teach the magic he promised. Spoiled as always, she says that next time he comes back, she won't even bother opening the door. But as she says it, she collapses to the ground with intense stomach pain. That was one of the master's rules. Think carefully before getting mad. Her father warns her, telling her she needs to calm down until the pain passes. Unfortunately, it doesn't work, and she spends hours in pain because she acted spoiled. From far away, it sounds like music to the boy's ears, since he kind of benefits from the situation. As soon as he gets back from the city, he realizes his older brother came to see him. Nobody mentions the grain stockpiles for the coming Great Famine. Smartly, he trusts his brother's instincts. His brother also bought some with his own money, like around 1,000 times more goods than the boy bought. Even if he loses all that money, he won't worry or blame anyone. Nervous, the hero knows he won't lose any money at all, and that he's actually going to make a huge fortune. At a training ground, the Marquis is sharpening his sword skills. Suddenly, his son shows up with some towels for him to dry off. So the Marquis, curious, asks how the trip went, and it turns out it was pretty comfortable. Turns out the old man had gotten news from the Count and found out his son is going to teach magic. In a way, this experience is going to be really good for the kid, and he should give it his all as a teacher. Still curious, he asks if the Count mentioned anything else. A marriage got brought up, but luckily their family doesn't have that tradition of pushing it that early. Not even the older ones in the family are married, so the youngest doesn't need to worry yet. Since he was sick for so long, he needs to hurry up and make up for lost time. And the father says he'll be the one handling the whole marriage issue. That's a huge relief for the kid, since he won't be held back by annoying stuff like that anymore. Putting his sword away, the Marquis says he never planned to force his son into some political marriage, especially since he himself never officially married the kid's mother. Sadly, he admits she never wanted that. When she was pregnant, she said she was happy with how things were and didn't want anything formal. She didn't want to stress about status, and she was fine just being his woman. Even his friends approved of their relationship. Somehow, she felt guilty and thought the situation was kind of wrong. She said she didn't need a formal title as long as she had her husband and kids to take care of, and that it was the man's job to protect her and any children they had. Because he loves them so much, he promises he'll do that and give them all the love he has. Even if he hasn't done much for his son up to now, he'll support him as best he can. He also promises to back him up in anything he wants from here on out. That shocks the young man, since it's weirdly unexpected to see that grumpy old guy acting like a soft, sentimental dad. On top of that, if the MC marries the powerful daughter of another family, it could cause a huge conflict. The old man values family above everything and wants to avoid problems like that. And for now, it's important to keep up the innocent kid act a little longer. Wrapping up the conversation, he says he needs to get back to studying in the library. The whole scene was super awkward, and the young man doesn't even call him dad. Staring at the pendant, he wonders if the woman still holds some resentment. Walking down the halls, The MC thinks about everything he just heard. He remembers he should have mentioned the loot he got from the dungeon. He told his guardian not to report anything to the Marquis until he had a chance to explain. He never really thought much about it, and now it's time to head to the library, not afraid of the future. Right then, he bumps straight into another noble walking down the corridor. In front of him is the family's third son, Duke. The weird thing is, he looks like he's grown since the last time they talked. Even though he's 2 years younger than the protagonist, his build is way more like a knight's. There are even rumors the kid recently became a low-rank warrior. Duke's surprised because the last thing he heard about his brother was that he couldn't even leave his room. Luckily, that restriction got lifted and his contributions were recognized. But Duke still doesn't trust him and thinks the whole thing is just some kind of scheme. That pisses the protagonist off and kicks off this sort of rivalry. The third brother genuinely hates the MC because his mother died from the stress of giving birth to Kyle. When he walked into the room, the only thing he could see was the woman's body, already frail and completely drained. The only thing Kyle managed to say was that the old lady died before he did. Obviously that made Duke snap. He slammed him into the wall, cursing him out non-stop. Their mom worried about Kyle all day because he couldn't stop causing trouble. He was always picking fights and trying to steal money from the house to go have fun, like some nasty little brat. Saying the MC was the one responsible for their mother's death, the two start arguing about what happened. Kyle defends himself, saying he's basically terminally ill and always gets blamed for everything. Crying, he asks who even brought him into the world with such a weak body. That's enough to set Duke off, and he throws a punch. Kyle hits the floor and stays there, unable to get back up. Leaning in, Duke says he held his anger back while their mother was alive, but not anymore. And he says he wouldn't want a brother like Kyle, not even in another life. All those memories slowly come back to the protagonist. Unfortunately, he realizes this conflict isn't going to be easy to fix. Duke keeps insisting he knows the kid's rotten nature better than anyone, and he orders him to never show up at the main house again, basically ignoring the rules. Once again, Kyle says the head of the family lifted the bans and gave him access to the whole estate. Then, all snobby, he asks if Duke seriously thinks he's better than even the family head, the Marquis. Totally pissed off, the warrior clenches his fists, about to throw a brutal punch. Right then, the fight gets cut off by Adolfo, who shows up at the perfect time. He lectures Duke, saying you don't hit your own family. But Duke's so angry he can't bring himself to apologize to Kyle. He could, but he'd rather just leave first. Watching him walk away, Adolfo asks where all that stupidity came from. Duke isn't like that with everyone, it's because of Kyle's tragic past. Acting kinda suspicious, Adolfo steps closer to the kid and says he trusts him. On top of that, Adolfo's been teaching Duke swordsmanship, and he's disappointed Duke's only average. And he knows Kyle's a powerful mage, with way more potential than Duke. Like he's playing chess, Adolfo says he can bench him if he gets in the way. Ending the conversation, Kyle says he needs to go to the library to keep studying, and he suspects his brother isn't just some normal warrior, but someone with hidden talent. Adolfo isn't the type to care about family, and he wouldn't go through all this effort just to mess with him. In the game, Duke never survived the rebellion, no matter which route you picked. Maybe there's some secret about him nobody knows. Then the story shifts to a quiet little town in the middle of the forest. There, the Guardian is walking around with a package in his hands. He says Kyle behaved really well on the trip and did what everyone wanted, but the Marquis wants to know if anything else happened on the way to the town. That puts the Guardian in a tough spot because he doesn't know whether to talk or keep it secret. Still, he stays loyal to the boy and says only a few small monsters showed up. With the Guardian traveling alongside his son, the old man can always relax on these trips. For a moment, he decides to put Kyle's wishes first and keep the secret. It turns out he went to that town to meet his father. The two of them spend a good while talking while they fish, catching up on everything. Rumors that the MC has gotten more mature have already reached the village. That makes the warrior happy, and he praises how responsible his protege has become. Originally, he planned to do his duty as a guard and then go back to the Knights, continuing his career. But something changed recently, and it's left him quiet. Maybe the kid's plans changed, but he's still not sure. At the camp, the MC says the warrior's old sword is weak and needs to be replaced. If he put his full strength into a strike, it would definitely snap because the blade's too fragile. He knows that because he studied a bit, and a mage needs to know the basics. Even though he learned all that from playing in the past, he can tell when someone needs a new sword. Since he's just a guardian, he never really had the chance to earn a new blade on merit. Smiling, the MC says Leonhard is his knight and deserves that kind of thing. That hits the blonde guy right in the feels. He'd never heard words like that from the Marquis. Even though he's loyal to the old man, who's shown him trust, he still can't really fit in with the nobles. His father knows he's always been the type to think before acting, and he's sure his son will figure things out. Before his son became a knight, they were nobles, but they didn't have money to pay for a tutor. Luckily, when he was 15, he got into the academy on skill alone. Deep down, he probably already knows what he wants to do. He just hasn't fully figured it out yet. They don't need to worry, since the Marquis isn't the kind of person who demands payment. The assessment is right. He's the boy's personal knight, and he cares about him a lot. Just then, a fish bites the hook and starts pulling. Night falls at the palace, and Adolf is freaked out about something. He wants to know if Kyle accepted the recruitment offer from the nice brother. The guardian lies, saying he didn't accept, and says he was surprised Abel even wanted to talk about that. He also says it was scary, since he'd never had that kind of conversation with him before. To the crime boss, the brother is just a freeloader trying to act like he cares. After all, when Kyle was sick, Abel didn't even care that he existed. Adolf thinks about it, annoyed that he almost had his recruit stolen. With Jerome gone, he can't afford to lose even more strength in the army. Even if it's just a kid in the first circle, it's still better than nothing. The boy knows neither of them showed up in his life when he was sick, and Abel getting close to him is way more obvious, making it clear he sees the kid's value. To survive and defeat the forces of evil, he needs the power of that swordsman family. Adolf starts wondering why they're buying so much grain from the farm in the neighboring town. They explain the boy bought it to do magic research, but he doesn't get why the knight bought some too. Acting like he doesn't care, he says it's good that Kyle is focusing on studying magic. To the villain, it's a good thing if the kid grows up strong so he can be useful later. After getting a book in his hands, he says he'll need to leave. Hearing all that, the maid was standing by the door, watching through a crack. Suddenly, Daisy shows up, saying she didn't become a spy by choice. She explains her family was taken hostage, and the crime boss is a horrible person. Without saying much, Urziel tells her to never show her face in front of Kyle again. Honestly, the maid seems lucky she doesn't have any family left alive for someone to use against her. That line messes with the girl, and she can only stay quiet. Since she has her pet and her lord, she feels like she's surrounded by friends now and not alone anymore. She thinks it would be really hard to ask her master to look for her missing family, and she knows what happens to women sold at the market. If Kyle hadn't saved her, that would have been her. Her main goal is to become powerful to honor the people who saved her. The little boy is training his fire skill while the maid watches from far away. He fires blasts of flame at a straw target. The hit is so strong it blows the target up and scatters debris all over the arena. The attack is already in the second circle of magic, and his proficiency is at 100%. She walks up all happy because her friend is giving it everything he's got in magic training. But he still needs to go to a city called Prenus to recruit a new talent. The blonde guy gets annoyed and doesn't want to go to that city at all. The place is known for drinking, gambling, and even heavier stuff. Prenus is a city of entertainment and pleasure that's basically off the charts. Last time the MC was there, he gambled at the casino, lost all his clothes, and ran off before he could be sold at the people market. This time, he wants to go there for other reasons, not just fun and gambling. But the goal is even worse, because the arena is a no-go zone. Annoyed, he orders Kyle to stay in the mansion and not sneak off to the city. Being clever, the maid thinks about putting medicine in the man's soup to make him fall asleep. That's going to be a huge problem for the MC, who can't waste any more time on this. He only has one chance to track the person's movements accurately. Siron is the playable protagonist, and as the main character, he's got really good stats. His strength is already proven, and if the MC can recruit him, it'll be a huge help against evil. The problem is the boy is inside the underground arena in the casino city. On one side are the arena's undefeated champions. On the other, the demon sword makes his entrance. Nobody can believe that skinny little kid is the famous one everyone's been talking about. Even though he looks weak and scrawny, he can take out anyone using only that sword. They say the boy's personality changes the moment he touches the weapon. He charges straight at the men, and they start running. Like a psycho, he says none of them are getting out alive and immediately takes one out. With the whole arena getting splattered, he asks who's next. Picking a target, he starts cutting down everything he sees in front of him. Like expected, the demon sword pulls off yet another insane win. All he can think about is killing the others and spilling even more red everywhere. Suddenly he drops the sword and collapses on the ground, mentally drained. He spends his days locked in a cage, being watched by everyone. Looks like he's about to pass out, and maybe even die. They leave him to recover on his own, since his body still hasn't fully developed. To everyone, it's shocking that a kid that young is that good with a sword. His story is unknown, and nobody knows of any living relatives. He's the same age as the protagonist, and he's in the arena, known as the Demon Sword. If he joins the team, he's going to turn into a huge talent. The family is having an amazing feast, with all kinds of meat. The friends keep messing around and end up leaving the blonde guy totally confused. That same night, they sneak out of their rooms before the Guardian wakes up. The plan seemed perfect. Now they just have to run down the hallway and disappear. But then the guard is already awake and wants to know why they're trying to run off. He's so sharp he realizes they slipped sleeping meds into his food. It doesn't even make sense that he's still awake, since that pill could knock anyone out for hours. The blonde guy asks what they're even planning to do once they escape the mansion. As a maid, Erziel should have stopped the Lord from doing this kind of thing. But sticking up for her, the MC says he's the one who talked her into it, so she shouldn't get blamed. Lately, security in the gambling city has gotten worse since their last visit. These days it's a violent place, and it's not safe for young girls to be walking around there, even though their protected guy is so strong he could destroy the city by himself. But that's exactly what the hero wants, to cause a huge scene. Being honest, he says he can't do it alone, and he wants to tear down the arena with his own hands. His plan is to free all the gladiators being held there, and he needs help. It's sudden, but he's been thinking about it for a while, and he can't stand seeing kids suffer. That really hits the blonde guy, who thinks it's a good cause. A few days pass, and they meet up inside a casino. At a blackjack table, the MC hits a royal straight flush. With one great hand after another, the Lord just keeps winning at the table. Before they went into the casino, the blonde guy wouldn't let Erziel come with them on this job. Unfortunately, they can't go straight into the arena. They'll have to lure the enemy out. The Viscount's son shows up. His name is Charada. With a ton of money, he wants to play a different kind of game, with the max bet. Catching the hint, the MC asks if there's some kind of game that's a bit more fun. Fun, as in blood and screaming, and that's exactly what's a few meters below where they're standing. The MC's plan is to win a few rounds first to get their friend in a good mood, then lose everything at the end. Charada gets a little uneasy, because he heard rumors the kid had changed, but nope, he's still the same. Word that Kyle was coming spreads, and the Viscount hears about it right away. Probably nothing, he's just here to gamble and blow money. So Charada reassures his dad, saying he can handle it and control the sucker all by himself. His theory is that the MC got tired of pretending to be nice and ran away from home to gamble. His plan is to squeeze the young guy for every last cent. Not just anyone can get into that place, and he plays it off like he's doing him a favor. And yeah, that'll definitely make the Lord happy, because it's got everything he wants. The plan is going great, and the kid looks excited. But he doesn't say he's excited because he's about to wreck that whole place.